Top of the morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Pepperpot Live. I'm your host, Jasmine Payne. Now, it's Friday, it's the end of the week. We hope you had a productive week and you're going to have an even more spectacular weekend. So I have in studio with me today Mr. Richard Young, an international production designer. That's his professional title, but really he has much wider portfolio, which we're going to get into very soon. Welcome, Richard.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
No problem.
It's my first time here.
Yes. So we're very new, and so we're very happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Right, so we're just going to have a fun conversation today. You're in Guyana for Style Mission.
Style Mission primarily.
Primarily.
Which is on Sunday.
On Sunday, and as well as the Women in Business Expo.
Women in Business Expo, which is going on right now at the Pegasus.
Right.
It started yesterday. We had a launch. We're on again from 9 to 9, and between 6 and 7:30 there's a panel discussion entitled Living with Intention, and it's a mixed panel of men and women because we're starting to now engage, as I call it, human community development more than staying insularly gender-based. So women empowerment must stay because women have had a disadvantage, but it is time to bring the genders together to correlate and to produce a better civilization. So we're going to have a talk starting with that, and also to reference the launch of the Men Across Borders, which is a book that is going to be an anthology of men's stories from around the region and even further afield.
Okay, so we're going to get a little bit more into those two events a little after, but first I'm really curious about you, Richard.
Okay.
I've seen you around, that you've been involved in the local fashion industry, even though you're not Guyanese, you're based in Trinidad, but I've seen you around a lot. I've seen you work with Sonia Noel, I've seen you at Guyana Fashion Week, and I've always been impressed with the way that you present yourself, and I know that you know your stuff. So tell me a little bit about how long you've been in the fashion industry. Of course, it seems as though you've been into many countries, so you're international. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it started off because I was first approached to be a model, which was when I was svelte and light and lissom.
I can tell the height, though. You have the height.
Yes. And but I wanted to come off stage almost immediately because I thought it needed to be constructed better, because there was each person was feeling they had their own thing, and it can't be and all these individual styles on the stage if we want to do branding, because I started seeing that the model is a brand ambassador of the region's style, so therefore it has to be coordinated well and presented well, because the world has to appreciate it and acknowledge it in a substantive way. And so there I came off the stage and started training models, because I had been a dancer at the National Dance Association in Trinidad for about 15 years. And so I used dance technique and theater discipline to inform how you utilize your anatomy to merchandise looks and wares and products and services. So over the years, I've become known as an expert really in this area, because this is what I do 365 days of the year. Every time I'm anywhere, it's always work. I don't consider it work. So that's one of the fun things that people tell me, you're living your dream and you're living your bliss. And I said, oh, it's not as happy as that, but I would be very, very rude to complain. I think it's a blessing, and only in the recent past I've acknowledged it as a gift. So some people might have thought, oh, he's been a little facetious, but that's not the truth. I always had a problem with the term talented. I said, I ain't dancing, I ain't singing, I ain't doing anything, but the talent is I can craft a thought and implement an idea into something for stage worthiness and for camera worthiness, and to aggrandize a story. And I believe in storytelling, which is a Caribbean thing.
Right.
So I'm real fascinated with Caribbean identity branding and presenting it to the world. We have a major problem because we live too insularly, and that was our post-colonial conditioning to stay separate.
Right.
And just look out at the metropolis. But now I think we need to inter-regionally connect, which is what I do. And sometimes I say, the things like the Federation, which was political, and the CARICOM, which is economic based,
Right.
all are trying to do that, but in a social, creative, cultural way. I move around the region, and I have been lucky, as we had in our pre-interview. I was telling you, I would never have guessed that I would have an email telling me your flight details and your hotel accommodation and your per diem and your payment and your car will be picked up here. So it's really made me feel empowered to do this task of corralling creatives, harnessing talent, making them understand the responsibility of it, and so that the world could say, Caribbean people know what they're doing, because out there they think of the entire space as the Caribbean. We fool ourselves thinking that all the rocks that are sprinkled on the archipelago and some of our subcontinental spaces like Suriname and Guyana are sufficient to go independently. I think we really need to brand, particularly for style and fashion and art and beauty. We need to have a Caribbean aesthetic. So I've become an advocate of that. Anybody would tell you Richard is an advocate for the Caribbean aesthetic. I talk about it. I've even been approached to write on it. In fact, Fashion TT, which is a subsidiary company of the Ministry of Trade under Creative TT, have asked me to submit what that is to inform what their mandates would be for the creative sector, and I was very honored that they accepted my interpretation of what that is.
Okay. So what it seems to me that you're doing is you're providing a technical aspect to style and creativity in fashion, which is interesting because creatives, as you know, we have this way of just doing, right? And we don't really think about, because we're just more into the passionate aspect of it. But what you do, you go behind the scenes and you serve as like a support system and you provide consultancy and so on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do documenting of it as well, because there's a column I have called Style with Richard Young, and I don't believe style is just fashion. I think the whole way we confront our reality in this space biographically is our style, how we do our agriculture, what time you get up in the morning, whether you walk in the soil with your toes in it as a way of massaging the earth. Whatever you do creatively, and creatively is not just in fashion, beauty and the arts, it is the entrepreneurial inclination to do things a little differently, and that belongs to you, coming from your space geographically and historically. So that's what I am really fascinated with, and that is what propels me all the time. And so the nuances that I meet throughout the region really informs this larger umbrella called the Caribbean aesthetic, and that is really is what makes me get up and tick every morning, you know, even to come to talk to you. Is to share that and to meet with others, even the model, the one who's doing the makeup, the one who's thinking that he or she is a stylist, and how they develop that, and why there's that sense, whether it is an innate sense, an intrinsic way of wanting to place things.
Right.
I am really fascinated with that, and it all comes down to because of the admixture, you know, this whole cosmopolitanism, particularly in Southern Caribbean. Suriname, Guyana and Trinidad share that multicultural, that diversity much more than the further north.
Right.
And so we have a lot to show, you know, and that's really what I do. I'm like, one magazine called me the fashion evangelist.
Oh my, that's new.
And I felt like I am doing a kind of proselytizing, because it's bringing them together to understand why you have been afforded or bestowed this gift of being creative. Not everybody has it.
Right.
So when you have it, you need to utilize it in a responsible way and always have a mission, an end product. You can't just happen to be a designer that lives in the Caribbean. You have to be a Caribbean designer. You can't be opening magazines and making clothing that you see there. That seems to work. That is not designing work. Designing work is when you bring out your ingenious, innovative, indigenous self and inform what you do. And And everybody has that as long as you have a creative slant. And so therefore that's what I kind of reach into you and help you unearth.
I get why they probably said evangelist, because I got the preachy type, which is not bad, but but it just means that you're very passionate about what you do.
I am.
But you answered one of the questions I was about to ask you. What's different or what's unique about the Caribbean aesthetic? And you basically alluded to the fact that it's the melting pot of it all.
Yes.
In comparison to the European or the northern, right?
Yeah.
But do you think that the wider world appreciates our aesthetic? Or do you think that there's some more work to be done?
More work has to be done because the work has to be done by us.
Okay.
In the corralling, in the coming together to fortify who we are.
Right.
Because they already have a preconceived notion that there is a brand called the Caribbean. And I always mention when I was in Martinique, I met Jean-Paul Gaultier walking in the market. And I went up to him, I said, "Excuse me, you Jean-Paul?" And he said, "Yes." And then I said, "What you doing here?" He said, "Where else would I be?" So sometimes it looks like it could be plagiarism, but it's called inspiration and using influence. But we have to determine how people perceive us.
Right.
We grew up being Caribbean, wearing Hawaiian shirts and Panama hats and Bermuda shorts, and those geographic adjectives don't belong in the Caribbean. But that was a determination made by people looking in on us and calling it resort wear for the desire to have a brand. We have a multi-eclectic spirit, so that we are not boxed in. You know, we can talk about our Indo traditions, we can talk about Afro traditions. I mean, both Guyana and Trinidad share this festival tradition because we have Pagwa, Huse, Diwali, Carnival, Mashramani. I mean, that is what informs this brand that is our style. And the flavors of it, because we have the Europeans are amongst us, and we have the Amerindians, which are great influence. A lot of people don't know why I'm half Amerindian, in spite of my height, because my parents' family were Amerindians from St. Kitts.
Okay.
You know, so and we have the Syro-Lebanese culture, because you could have grown up around those the Arab traditions, and you would not understand why you want to wear share and see fashion and share and some glitz on it. You know, it impacts on us, and it's you. It has become you because you are informed by all of these presences.
Right.
And so, we need to shape it, because they do think, and they always had that mystique and so on about the Caribbean from the privateering and buccaneer days. They were coming here as this fantasy place looking for gold everywhere, and it has become a tourist destination, so there's this allure that's the paradise space. So we need to take it and market it and use it to inform how they appreciate what our style is. And most of the international stylists, there's June Ambrose, there's Charlotte Monroe, there's St. Lucian, Charlotte, and June is from Antigua. And they are international celebrity stylists. So when you see all these bits of color and all those kind of tribal prints and Afro and Indo-centric and thing coming up, is because they are informing the space with it, because they're carrying their Caribbeanness with them. And so it is something that the world is assimilating, absorbing, but we have to present a front.
Okay, so for the Caribbean artists out there, take note, we have a big job to do.
Yes, the visual artists, the performing artists, the animators, the event makers. It's a lot. So you owe it to us to shape our styles incrementally every time you get the opportunity.
Owe it to ourselves as well.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so well, I mean, if I pick your brain all morning, we're never gonna leave. But quickly, then I suppose because of this vast amount of knowledge that you have, this is why you've worked with many local designers. So can you just very quickly talk about some of the designers you've worked with? We know Sonia Noel, of course.
Yeah, Sonia is my point person here, but I worked on Guyana Fashion Week, and I just did Carrie Fest, and I worked with Keisha Edwards, and she's particularly strong. She was just at Dominicana Moda, and she was also picked in the Buckingham Palace showcase
Yes.
that was done, and I saw their work at Fashion Institute of Technology because they brought it over there. I was
Right.
actually asked to speak at Fashion Institute of Technology last year on Caribbean styles to the international students. So there was a display there. So I was very proud because Mailing was there from Trinidad, and there was a Dominican artist who works in leathercraft. And so there is an awareness of the Caribbeanists.
Right.
You know, I worked with Olympia, small, at Carrie Festa, and I have worked with Nielsen Nurse and Andy Cummings and a lot of them, Ryan Barkley, all of them would have passed through our hands, whether through Guyana Fashion Week or the Designer Portfolio Showcase. So we have been curating this style guard for quite a while. A lot of them have moved on, and so yeah. I feel Guyanese implicitly because I'm here so long, and when I came, I told Sonia, I revel at so many things that I think you all take for granted. You know, I wrote a piece on Guyana, the food stalls and the market space at Starbrook, and the driving through, and I mean, there's nowhere else with it, you know, and you might take it for granted because you got up and it was there, and the Georgian and Victorian architecture in Georgetown it's brilliant. The church, we did a fabulous video at the church with Melissa Payne running off the step, almost like if she ran away from her own wedding. But I mean, cinematographically, it was powerful,
Right.
you know, and she ran onto a donkey cart. There are donkey carts in between the traffic. I mean, that's fascinating, you know, so people must not take their cultural indicators for granted. And so, yeah, I've worked with the creatives, and like Winston Alexander, who you're going to have,
Right.
we used him at a presentation called Carte Blanche, which was a celebration of Caribbean style. Again, that's what I did at the Eucalyptus Gardens with Sonia, where you all wore white and so. And yeah, so all of these elements, all these first-rate elements need to come brimming to the surface and align. You must do alignment in the region to present to the world, you know, and that's what I feel my responsibility is. So Style Mission even is a project where we are using some Amerindian-based designers like Natasha David, and Vanda Alicock and Sonia, and I've brought in two designers. One is a Caribbean Academy of Fashion Design alumni, because we have that school there. A lot of students are coming because it's patterned after Parsons. I have my brother, and it's not because he's my brother, the cloth is considered a master designer in the region, which is the most prestigious award given by Caribbean Fashion Week in Jamaica. And we have 3 other fashion houses. So it's a real melting pot of style, Caribbean style, to make this outreach to our Caribbean brothers and sisters in the Bahamas because of the Hurricane Dorian incident, you know.
Right.
So I like that kind of connectivity.
Right. So let's talk about Style Mission a bit more. Where is it going to be held?
It's going to be at Pegasus. It's on Sunday evening, Sunday the 24th at 1800 hours. Tickets are $5,000. They're available in the Oasis Cafe and at Pegasus, or from the Sonia Noel Foundation for Creative Arts via Sonia directly or members. And the contributions are well worth it. You're going to be entertained. You're going to be uplifted by the style, and you're also going to be contributing to a cause. I must point out that Pegasus Hotel is an exemplar of corporate social responsibility in aligning with this project. Mr. Montenegro, who's the general manager, and the chair, Mr. Badal, have been very, very cooperative with us all these years. We have done Style Mission there. And as I'm seeing that they're also part of the expo, the Women in Business Expo, which is in process, started. It's a launch exhibition because the show actually happens in International Month of Women, which is in March coming up. But we have launched in this 2-day period, and we are allowing the women the exhibition space for the launch. So it's not just a media launch, it's a launch where you start interfacing and interconnecting and interacting with them. And it's gone well. And this evening we are having a Living with Intention panel. as I mentioned to you before, because we're no longer just promoting women empowerment, as necessary as that is, and we'll continue to do so. We need to brand what you call human community, and therefore we need the genders to interface and interact and to dialogue, and that prefaces Sonia's next anthology, which is Men Across Borders. Right, and she is deliberately releasing the book in the International Month of Women in March. You know, we just had an event at the British High Commissioners in honor of that on International Men's Day. So that constant diversifying and constant momentum building is what creatives need to do, and stick around each other and share and build camaraderie. Competition doesn't mean that you're rivals and antagonistically. You are comrades in a sector, an economic sector called the creative industry sector, and you need to work that way.
Correct. All right. I like that you mentioned about the synergy or the conversations that both genders need to have, because I find that a lot of times we do forget the men. Right? And I think that is something we need to keep at the back of our heads, that it's not just about pushing women or empowering women, but we also need to think about, that synergy that they bring to each other. Okay, so a bit more about Style Mission. You said that it's been there for several years, so if you can just look from where it started to now, where it's come, what would you say are its biggest accomplishments?
Well, this year it is definitely doing the outreach program, which is part of its mandate, which is Caribbeanizing the process, and always wanted to link with regional creatives. So we have brought in some. We are reaching out to people who need help from their Caribbean brothers and sisters, and that's definitely the most demonstrable way to show it, by doing this. So yes, it has, because what we did before, we helped single mothers. Single mothers were helped around the Christmas time. Dispossessed and displaced people, we kind of saw about food and basic necessities. There were some artists of the country who had fallen into some kind of unfortunateness, whether it was medical assistance they needed, or they have just been not supported, because patronage is very important for creatives, and I mean, from time immemorial, the famous Leonardo da Vinci and the Michelangelos, they were great artists, but the wealthy thought it was their duty to support and for them to bring their art to bear on social transformation development. And it's kind of waned. So now it's packaged as corporate social responsibility. We try to bring that back to bear, that you need to help, be our brothers' keepers in a way. So that is what Style Mission has been doing over the years. And I must commend the Sonia Noel Foundation for Creative Arts for taking up that mantle, because somebody has to do it. Somebody has to almost push the envelope so that private sector and public sector also take on the responsibility and give back to society, as it were.
Okay. All right, so unfortunately I have to wrap up, but I really enjoyed conversing with you. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers before you leave?
Well,
about the two events or anything else?
Yes, well, please come down to the Expo, Women in Business Expo, particularly between 6 and 7:30 this evening. There is the Living with Intention panel discussion. It's very interactive. It's not a lecture, so you come and share. Pass through and support these women whose businesses depend on your patronage. I must admit too that a lot of agro-processing entrepreneurs came out of the Women in Business Expo, and they're there with their products and their services, because that's what is also important. The service industry is going to boom at this time with the influx of your expats and the interest in Guyana, because outside of here I can tell you Guyana is the talk of the town, so I am looking in, and now that I'm here I see it's manifest everywhere, and so that is a great developmental plug for Guyana, and so the creatives also need to work on that, and please come on down to Style Mission. You can get your tickets right up to the end. don't feel if you didn't get your ticket before you can't come, because it's a one-time only offer that we're doing for this year to close it off. And I'm back, and I'm looking forward to see all my creatives and the models and designers, and I'll be back here too in 2020.
Okay, great. All right, and that's it. Thank you so much, Richard, for being here. I hope to have you back, because I could ask you so many more questions.
Yes.
All right, viewers, stay tuned. We're going to have another special guest. His name is Winston Alexander, and he is a speed painter. So that's going to be exciting. So just stick around. We'll be back.
I can't go without doing this song. We come across the Caribbean Sea, mother, father, picnic, and we settle down in GT. Why, oh, we been down on the coastal plain, in the hot sun and pouring rain, and we planted the rice and cane. Why, oh, yes, we take off the boots, and we put on the roots. Why, oh. So the crabwood that grow in the Sequebo is Rio, and the Six-a-Rugby and the Sakirinki is Rio, and the lava that run from Govayagon is Rio, and the Wallaba Post and the Corazin Coast is Rio. Arapaima, Black Bush Boulder, Humanayana is Rio. Sematu Vine is Rio. Masquerade Wine is Rio. Humanayana is Rio. Over the Plaisance, we know Pagua and Confidence, and we know how to wine and prance. Why, oh, and then we said the great Diwali, and when it's time for matrimony, it's party, party, party. Why, oh, yes, we know how to cut till we underwear wet. Why, oh, so the crabwood that grow in a city boys, Rio. The Six-a-Rugby and the Sakirinki is Rio, and the lava that run from Govayagon is Rio, and all of them are Wallaba Post and the Corazin Coast is Rio. Arapaima is Rio, Black Bush Boulder is Rio, Humanayana is Rio, Truly Benab is Rio, Bundary Crab is Rio, Humanayana is Rio. Chip, sugar cake and saltfish and bake is Rio. Mutton curry and two polari is Rio. Barbie and nice black pudding and rice is Rio. Coconut natachi and riri is Rio. Babulad harichan with the kurta in the hand is Rio. Alexander Mini and the blue dashiki is Rio. And Frankie Minis and the boom boom cheese is Rio. All right. And next one here, let me ask you again. Put up your hand in the crowd. Who know what is Vum Vum cheese? Put up your hand. 6 people. Vum Vum cheese, you see, this is history. Vum Vum cheese is the thing that the Portuguese people bring. I had nothing to do with it. Portuguese people bring it here years ago. And Vum Vum cheese is the stinkiest smelling cheese God ever make. I think they call it Limburg. I mean, it stink. Let me tell you how stink Vum Vum cheeses. They had a cake shop in Main Street. Farage. Who remember that? 2 people, you see? I show you my age here. Farage had a cake shop. Used to sell all kind of things. He had a showcase in front of us. Salara, coconut bun, and that kind of thing. And right at the end, so he had boom boom cheese. And you know, I mean, we got face facts, right? It's Guyana. The cake shop had 1 or 2 flies. You know, you can't run away from them. There used to be flies in the Guyana cake shop. All in the case. But you see at the end there with the boom boom cheese there? Not a fly. 2 or 3 flies, you see there? They fall upon the ground dead to us from the boom boom cheese. So that is your history. Now, it ain't there no more, you know. And I said, thank God, because it smell bad in truth. But that is to show you the history of some of these things. When you're saying it's we own, you got to claim the good stuff, and you got to claim boom boom cheese, right? Okay. So we're going back. Frankie Minis and the boom boom cheese is we own. And the lawyer in town named Lee Funky Fung is we own. And the fellas in the tree watching cricket for free is we own. The brothers in the night preaching Jordan night is we own. And Mary and Paul up on the seawall is we own. And the girl foot fine but lordship behind is we own. Arab Island is we own. Blackbush Folder is we own. The human Diana is we own. Bad Napenus is we own, my finger juice is we own, human Diana is we own. Marapaima is we own, Blackbush Polder is we own, human Diana is we own.
Welcome back, everyone. I have sitting next to me Mr. Winston Alexander. Welcome, Winston.
Hi.
He's a little nervous, but don't worry. All right, so Winston is a speed painter and performance artist. Now, let me just tell you, I'm a fan. I've seen you perform. Basically, what that is, what is speed painting? I'll let him tell you.
Speed painting is basically a form of art, a performance art. It's just an entertainer. You're not just an artist, but you're just an entertaining artist.
So it's not just, okay, I'm going to sit and paint this picture. You do other things. What do you do?
Well, speed painting is more likely, it can be active, right? So to entertain the crowd. So, and speed painting is you do speed painting within a couple of minutes.
Okay.
To music.
To music?
Yeah.
So there's a little dance involved.
There's movement, dancing, all fast, everything is done within a couple of minutes.
Okay. All right. So what kinds of things do you paint? I'm giving the audience, I'm preparing the audience for what you're going to see very shortly. But what kind of things do you paint?
Basically, just mostly portraits.
Okay.
Portraits. Yeah. Anybody.
Okay. Anybody. Anybody. So I could give you anybody.
Mostly celebrities and people are well done.
Okay. All right. But if I come to you and say, okay, paint me, can you paint me in 5 minutes?
Of course I can.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I'll take you up on that challenge one day. But so how long have you been speed painting?
Let's say approximately about 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah, in speed painting professionally. Yeah.
But otherwise, you are a trained artist.
Yeah, I'm a graduate from the art school, 2009. Yeah, but speed painting, I've self-taught. I developed it off my own to maintain a professional artist in speed painting.
That's interesting. That's interesting because I've never seen anybody do what you do. I first saw you at the Rotaract Club's Wine and Art, and that's when you painted Wyclef Jean, right, from the refugees, and you did it in about five minutes.
Yeah, roughly 4 or 5 minutes. That's roughly the time. Speed painting.
Right. And it was an excellent representation. But how did you come across, how did you decide, okay, I'm a trained artist, I've studied, I'm qualified, but let me get into speed painting. How does that happen?
Well, I would say probably it started all just by looking at the video. Social media. I came across a video, I think that was 2014, 15, somewhere around there. Right there, it just captured my attention, and after it captured my attention, I just decided, you know, let me just go and look up on this thing,
Right.
speed painting, not knowing it's a big thing overseas. Yeah, so
Right.
do a couple of researches and so forth. Oh, the first speed painter would be D. Westry. The painting performance I ever saw. There's a thing as American speed painter. So kind of do a lot of research on him. Find there's a lot more speed painters around the world.
Okay.
So I just kind of find it very interesting. So, you know, I can do this. But it was not easy for us.
I can imagine. So your first performance, did that go well? Were there some hiccups? How did that? What was the first performance?
Well, obviously, I just decided, you know, let me get it to try. Bought some canvas. No, not, I would say I work with cardboard first.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
because cardboard more cheaper. Bought some paints. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna make a attempt at this speed painting. I'm there. Let's take a shot at this. See, so it's the speed painting. I have to take at least a couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes. Attempt. And there we goes. Paints. Started to paint with one hand. No, this thing. Take it too slow. So I decided, no, you gotta be more.
So it took a while.
So, yeah, it took a while
Right.
to adjust.
So it wasn't speed painting, it was just painting.
Just painting. So I started to splash of paints. When a couple of minutes. By the time myself, when that couple of minutes was over, like, let's see what. I kind of did upside down. When I turned it, it was like, who am I painting? What am I painting? I just wanted to paint a portrait.
Right.
Just to see how the trial will be.
Right.
And it was a mess. It was
It was a mess.
a mess, yeah.
But it wasn't for the public just
No,
yet.
no, just
okay.
practice.
Okay, good. Because by the time I saw you, you were pretty good. So
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So you're basically again the only person I've seen done this. Do you think that you can get a bit more exposure? Do you believe how do you promote this talent that you have? It's very rare in Guyana.
Yeah, actually, I think the only person who's done this type of art. Which I'm grateful. I would like to see a lot of others probably come on board. I promote myself through social media. You know how social media is these days. Winston Alexander, you can catch me. And I have a page, Alexander Arts. Recently, I've not put up anything, but I'm sure I will
Right.
put up some more of my artwork.
Okay.
Type of it.
So you may very well have to be, if you're saying that you wish you can see other people do it, but you may very well have to be that person that takes it in hand. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any plans to start teaching your craft?
Yeah, probably later in life.
Yeah.
Or probably anyone who are willing to assist, who wants to learn from me in the aspect of speed painting. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very.
It would be great to see a lot more artists come together. Who knows? You know, when creative people come together, they can be very creative. That creativeness could really come out of them.
You're right.
To see, you know, a collaboration with more other artists and create something that is probably new.
Right.
Something to the public.
Okay, so viewers, this is an artist who is willing to work with other artists who are interested in speed painting. And again, you probably don't know what we're talking about, but we're going to give you a sneak preview just a little bit. But let me just ask him a couple more questions. So do you paint full-time or do you have a day job, as they call it?
Yes, I do have a job.
Yeah.
An income because I have responsibilities.
Right.
And so forth.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And you know how that goes.
Art is mostly part-time. Recently, I'm at work. Presently working, doing like I got a couple of murals and projects that work, artwork. Yeah. So,
But I'm pretty sure you wished you could have done it full-time.
yeah, I wish I could have done full-time
Right.
to get more work to be done.
What are some of the favorite performances that you've done so far?
Actually, I really don't have a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I just go there and just wanted to perform, probably to make the best out of my performance to the audience.
But you've been on a couple of shows already, right? I think an E-Network show.
Yeah, I've been. That's where it all started.
Oh,
for me.
okay. That was your first.
That was my first.
Okay.
And probably the biggest showcase for me when I was part of the E-Network.
Okay.
Talent show.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that perhaps you could reach out to get more promotion of your work? Do you have any plans of reaching out to perhaps government or other entities for support for what you do? Or do you think that you can get more support from them?
Yeah, I think I can get more support from them if they are willing to work with me.
Mm-hmm. But what would you think is the importance of the government and even private, of supporting artists like yourself?
I think the government needs to invest more in our local artists, craftsperson. Probably have a like an art village. You know, where tourists can just go to this art village. Probably have the different art, craft, paintings, sculptures, ceramics, whatever, every art. And also in that village, you probably have the culinary arts, the performing artists, everything.
Mm-hmm. You're talking
That
365 days a year? All year? All year you want this village to be?
Yeah, a functional village where you just go and have like a hangout spot. They have every aspect of art within this village. At the weekends, you probably have a performance artist, for locals.
That's actually an interesting idea. Jamaica has something like that, so, and especially now with more persons coming into Guyana, that's a pretty interesting idea. So.
Yeah, I spent a couple of years in Barbados, and they have a steady exhibition for artists. Like probably every week they have some event different part of the island.
Okay, so you'd like to see a platform created for the local artists. Okay, interesting. All right, so without further ado, I want to give the viewers a little sneak peek into what you do and why you're so good at it and why I'm such a big fan. So we're going to show you a video that we did. We took Winston into the national park earlier in the week to see how he performs. So we're going to give you a sneak peek right now.
Where I be, I'm proud to still be me. I'll always represent. I'm always Guyanese in every party. Inside of the feds, country people overseas never deny your Guyanese. In the morning, in the evening, in the day, in the night. I tell you, anywhere I go, I got my flag, my GT flag, yeah. Six away in this country, six away in harmony. Six away, six away, six away, six away. In every party I reppin', inside of the feds I reppin'. Country people overseas never deny your Guyanese. In the morning, in the evening, in the day, in the night. I tell you, anywhere I go, I got my flag, my GT flag, yeah. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. One people, one nation, one destiny.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered will soon deliver you.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy will give sight to a blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you kiss your little baby, you kiss the face of God. Did you know? Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know?
The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule the nation? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb?
That sleeping child you're holding is the great I
Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know?
All right, and I hope you saw why I'm such a big fan of Winston because of what he did. That is an extremely special talent that he has. Winston, how much time did that take to do? Did you do any practicing before?
Yeah, for this performance, I did one practice session.
One practice
Because,
session.
I didn't have much time.
Okay, I can imagine. But that was really good what you did though. The first one was President Granger, if you would have recognized it, and then the second one, in the spirit of Christmas, would have been Mary and Baby Jesus.
Yeah, I tried to bring a Christmas theme since we in the season.
Extremely excellent. So I saw that you incorporated some moves. To me, it seemed like some capoeira. Did you do capoeira? Did you ever practice capoeira?
Yeah, I did a little bit back in the day. I think it was in the art school with some friends with me at the Brazilian embassy.
It shows.
They introduced me to capoeira. Just for a couple of weeks I did. They incorporated different, to put it in my
But I see some of that in your moves, right? And then I think I saw a video with you when you actually did some kung fu moves. So you get pretty creative with the dance moves.
Yeah. Whenever I'm in that street painting, that mood, and I know it probably just the creativity. I just let loose. Probably you see me painting with my feet, my hands, and that's it.
Right, yeah, I did see you.
I get caught up within that.
Interesting.
Mood, just let go of the brush.
Yeah, I think I did see you use your feet at one performance, and then you use both of your hands, you're ambidextrous. You can do left or right.
Yeah.
Right, and the finished product, as you can see, is extremely excellent. But is there anything else you'd like to see, Winston, before we close off?
I think so.
he's shy. He's more, you put him in front of the canvas and then he performs. But thank you so much for being here.